Hello everybody and welcome to this tutorial how to model a tea kettle in Shapr3D. What's interesting about this object is the strategy we need to follow to model something that is hollow and solid. So you can see the spout and the main body, which should be the volumes that hold the fluid, are hollow, but then the handle is actually, for various reasons, stability as well as sanitary reasons, is solid. And that actually dictates to a certain degree the strategy or the step-by-step how we have to build this design. Okay, so let's go over to this demo file, which you can download. This has a top view and a side view placed already into the background, so we can use it as a backdrop to sketch over. I will go to the back view. We're in millimeters and also all our snap targets are turned on. So how do we start? The main body is a revolve. The lid is a revolve, the handle is a sweep along a path, and the spout is a set of loft profiles. I always promote to my students, work on the easiest part first, work on the hardest part later. So the spout is the last, and actually the main body and the lid will be our first object to model. Very good. Okay, so let's go to sketch, and we would like, as spline, have the control point curve activated, and I start somewhere there, and then start drawing, click, and click or press on the screen, and here I release. So all we need is a spline with 4 points. The more points you have, the more detail you can put in, but also the more complicated it will be to make a really nice and smooth curve. The least amount of points is always ideal because it makes the work easier and it guarantees better results. So this I will roughly position to there. Then the top point I assume has to be there. I'm using the grid to position all this, and now I can select this point, drag this down. This might go in a little bit. Yep, there we are. Very good. That looks nice and clean. Okay. Now for a revolve, we need a full sketch. So I will draw a horizontal line, make sure this remains horizontal, draw a line down to the bottom. Also here, make this vertical. This point we can even lock. So this is actually going to be our center axis. So this can't move anymore. And draw one line to the right. Let's move this back a little bit. What's really nice about Shapr's grid is when you zoom out or when you zoom in, the grid gets adaptively finer and finer. And look at this. This point got actually lined up right under the end point of the spline. So now I can just draw a line straight down, make this vertical, select this, move this over, and then this way I even move the sketch a little bit. Move this down there. We can give this a dimension 6.25. So always try to work with clean values. There we are. Very good. What's this? 160. Very good. Okay, so this is kind of like our revolve body for the main vessel. So when I rotate my view and then select actually the filling, then on the left side I can go to more and say revolve. This fill is selected. Now it asks me to select an axis, and that is this vertical line which I drew, and we do a revolve 360 degrees. Okay, so sometimes these background images can be in your way when you do sketching and 3D modeling. So sometimes it can be a very good tip to turn them on off based on our needs. Okay, so this I will hide for the moment, because let's continue working on the rest here. So I would like to have the lid to sit on top. So I turned that image off, so you see where I'm working on. So I will just draw another line straight up. And this line, let's go roughly to there. What's the height? 48 millimeters. Okay, good. And then here I draw a line straight up a little bit for 1 millimeter. And now I would like to create this really nice curve. Okay. So from this point I start drawing a spline. So I go to spline, click, click. And unfortunately I wasn't really seeing the whole object. So I did hit undo. Let's do this one more time with the spline activated. So press, press. I might need 2 points here, 2 points there, go over. And here, this is actually now important to understand. There. So I end this point there. And this point and this point, they should be horizontally aligned. When I move this one up, you see that if we would revolve it, where this point would go to the right side, it would not create a nice and smooth transition like you see inside the background image. So there are two ways how we can do this. First, because I'm using the grid, all I need to do is use this point, drag it down till it snaps on the grid and also lines up with the other point. Very good. Now all I can do with this point is move this left and right, but I can't really move this up or down. I can select both points here, move this one up, move this one down to increase the curvature a little bit. This point I freely move to there. Very good. This I move over. Actually, I move it right over to there, so that this curve is tangent to this line. It's a nice surface flow. Very good. Okay. That doesn't look too bad. The lid also has to sit on something. So it needs to be like some sort of an interlocking mechanism. So let's see, what is this distance here first? This 3.5. Okay, good. We can keep this 3.5. The material thickness of the main body will be 3, so we have a millimeter of clearance. Which means now I draw this down, 3 millimeters, draw this over 5. This all can be adjusted to your needs. Here, bring this over to there. 3, very good. This here we can keep at that distance, very nice. Okay. Now, I will turn off this one more time, rotate around. Now I select this fill plus this fill and go to more and revolve, select this axis there. Very nice. And done. Okay, good. There we are. I will also turn off the sketch. And there you see now how these two kind of like sit on each other. Currently, this has that lip added to it. This is still solid. That's all fine. We're going to shell everything out at a later point. Let's turn back all our sketches and images. Now we can work on the handle. Go to the front view. So here I have the handle as you can see it, and I would like to retrace it. So I go to Sketch and Spline. Let's see how many points we need. I start drawing somewhere there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I can modify all these points. Also here I make sure that this point and this point are horizontally aligned. This can go in a little bit, then this can go down a little bit. There you see, and this works pretty fast. So these 2 points I select together and move them down to there. There we are. There, very good. Okay, so now we have this arc. And I would like to be able to draw a profile of this handle now. So I will turn this background image off. So I only have this bottom image and my sketch. Then I will go to Add and Construction Plane. Go to which edge options do we have here? Through edge and an angle, perpendicular to a curve at a point. That one is good. So I can select now this curve. And you see when I move this point around, it creates a plane that runs kind of like a roller coaster along it. And I go to the end point. That is good. Done. So on this construction plane, I can select with my pencil and with my finger double tap, and there is actually now my my grid to put down the sketch for the spline. I draw from the center, point, 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 and go to the end. I can play around. Do I do these horizontal? Do I do these vertical? I'm also heavily making use of the grid here. Very nice. Also, what's the distance? 40 millimeters. What's the distance here? 50 millimeters. So you see we can also assign dimensions to the CVs of a spline. It's actually pretty good. So maybe take a look at the top. Because how wide is this? So this is 30. So it means actually that in our sketch, this is 15 by 15. So this is way, way too big. So now everything moved a little bit. Not a big deal. So this is the center point. I can move the center point to there. Maybe move this instead. Okay, and sometimes, because it's a smart system, it has a little bit of an issue sometimes understanding where is the grid. So you see here I drew just a line. This line now I snap to the grid point. That line is glued to the midpoint here of my spline, and then this line I make horizontal, vertical there, and you see now that this point is now centered perfectly. Then I can draw a line, and I can draw a line and say horizontal, horizontal there. Everything is quickly updated. So just some little tips about how when the smart guides sometimes can come into your way, how we clean everything up and get it into order too. Okay, so first the height actually looks, sorry, not the width looks pretty good, but the position is too high, so I can select the whole thing and just slide it down. There, okay, there we are. So this maybe I don't need anymore. These other two I could remove. I just keep them for the moment because they were quite useful. This construction plane I'm hiding. So I lined this one up. Very good. So then this profile, I would like to sweep along this line. Oh, no, it's not a line, it's a curve. There we are. Cool. One thing to be aware of, this curve you can't make too tight because otherwise the sweep will start intersecting. If you take a look on the left outer curve, it's actually nice and round, and the inner curve where my pencil is just tapping, you see it can get actually pretty tight there. So just be careful about the type of profile you are creating. Very good. So we have now the lid, the body, and the handles. The handles I want to be solid and joined to the main vessel, but the vessel should be hollow, which means I can now use the main body and use it as a cutting tool to trim the handles. So let me show you how this works. So I will actually go to Tools and Subtract, and then say from the handle I would like the main vessel body be subtracted, but keep my original because I want to keep this cutting tool. Click Done. Very good. And you see now how this is actually shaved off. So now this basically means I can shell my main liquid holding volume and then add the handles to it, and the handles would not grow into the teapot. Okay. So the last thing, the more complicated one, is actually our spout. I will hide all those. Here we have now kind of like a top view. The spout can be modeled via multiple profiles, kind of like ellipses. One easy way is I will go to, in this case here, the left view, and then go to Add Sketch, go to Ellipse. The ellipse allows me to, from the center, draw something out. And then when I click on the ellipse, I can move this up and down, and I can change the radius, which is pretty nice. And hold on. So let's select you, and I will go to Transform and Move, and then move the whole object to where I need it first. So I put it inside my object. That's good. Let's go to the top view. That's good. Can make this a little bit bigger and a little bit wider. Very nice. Then I go back to Transform and move Rotate, select the ellipse, turn on Copy. Make a copy, turn copy off, rotate this 90 degrees, move this up roughly to there. Then I can go to a top view, click OK, select my ellipse, and as you can see, I simply scale it into the dimension I need it to be. Very good. Maybe a little bit more to there. Good. Okay. So if we do a loft between you and you, it's a straight connection. If we, which we can do. If you want to have something that's arced, we need additional profiles. And that's the more somewhat labor-intensive process. You have here inside the video, the tutorial and the background images, the individual cross sections I used, also in the top view. So if you want, you can just take the first ellipse, copy and paste, rotate it, scale it right into the positions you need to rebuild exactly what I have. Or what I will do, I will just use one ellipse, make another copy. There, we'll bring this back a little bit just to show you what will happen. And then here, this is actually now copied. Can just go back to the move command, bring it to there. Turn all this on. Very good. So change this and change this. Obviously, this one here should be a little bit wider than this one. Let's go back to transform and rotate, maybe a little bit more. Okay. Go in, go a little bit there, and change the scaling there that way. Very good. So let's see what will happen now if we select you, 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 and you, and do a loft. There you can see how this actually works. Okay. For comparison, we do a loft between these three profiles. There you see now this actually goes straight up. So this initial first copy here, I want to rotate this maybe a little bit and also adjust the scale a little bit smaller and go to transform. Bring this up a little bit to there. Very good. Let's see how this will translate into the spout. There, already better. So the more profiles you add, the more control you can have over the flow of your spout. Also, the more profiles you add, the more work it will be. Just to keep that in mind. I always try to keep the least amount of tasks and trying to maximize my output. Okay, so this is good for the demo purpose. Now we have all our building blocks ready. And we'll go and filter this to only objects. There's my handle. So how do we do now the whole assembly? This we will rename into lid. It's very easy. So the rest is actually solid. The handles, the body, and the spout. The body and the spout I would like to join. So I double tap each object, select union. And before I go and start shelling it, I will actually go ahead and add fillets now. So this is a very important step to understand. We do the filleting now at this point, not afterwards, because then I would fillet a shelled object. That's not really what I want. So this is all good. Now I can go ahead and so these two faces which I selected, I would like to shell. or actually, I'm not shelling these two faces. From these two faces, I start shelling or carving out the object. And select shell. 3 millimeters is what we decided to do. Keep in mind that when we did our lid, we made there a little offset. There we are. Very nice. You see now? Perfectly fits in there. Very good. Okay. Now my design, as I started, as I just see there right now, is actually kind of funny because I modeled it this way so the lid would fall into it. Well, it's not a big deal. That's actually the nice thing about Shapr3D and the direct modeling. Everything is very fluid and we can fix everything. The cut section here is really useful to understand how all my objects here look like. So I'm going to round these edges here. So 1 millimeter, this maybe 0.5 millimeters. For cleanliness, let's do this 0.52. So when I show the lid now, there you can see there's a nice gap between this fillet and that surface. So it can wiggle a little bit. And now I need to add something that makes sure that my lid is actually not falling into my design. So the bodies I will hide. I will turn on my sketches. I need to see which one it was. There it is. So, okay. Here to this sketch. Now afterwards we can add something to it. A little lip. I will turn on the cut section one more time so I can see from where to where I have to draw this. So a small object there and there. No, don't snap down. Go to there and there. Very good. Actually here, this line I remove and I bring this line down. What's the height? 0.8. Okay, and let's move this one up there. So this is 1 millimeter, strong enough. Okay, now let's turn this back off. I will hide this and I would like to show my lid. Then I will select this fill, go to more and revolve. Select this axis here. There we are, 360 degrees. And then this little ring we created, we need to join to the lid. So I double tap each geometry body, select union. Now the lid is 1. So when we turn on our only geometry, there we can see now that it perfectly fits in. To insert this object easier, we can also round the edges down here nicely. 1 millimeter, very good. To make everything look nicer, round this, 0.5 and 0.5. Also here, this edge, we round a little bit there. Good. So the last thing left, the solid handle we have to add to the body. We do the union command again. So double tap the handle, double tap the rest of the teapot, and then select union, joins it together. And then we can select these edges and fillet them nicely. Also here, if the fillets are too big, visually not what you want, we can always afterwards select the fillets and then adjust them. Turn the cut section off, go to top view. Yeah, and there's our tea kettle, really nicely modeled.